Welcome to Murder and Everything Else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl, and Joy and I are two very old friends who are going to talk about murder and everything else. So, Joy, I have a bone to pick with some of these creators or writers or directors or whatever. So, I was watching this movie called Aporia. I think it's Aporia. Aporia. I don't know what that. I mean, I didn't know the word until I watched the movie, and it stars Judy Greer, and I really like her. She's one of those actresses that you don't know her name, but she's been in a ton of things. She played the secretary on um oh my god, I can't even think of the name. Oh my god, what's the name of the Jason Bateman TV series?
Oh,
Starts with
Arrested
a
Development.
D.
Was
Arre-
she the one who'd pull her shirt up and go, "You can say goodbye to these"?
I said it starts with a D. Arrested Development. She plays a secretary of the father.
She is one
Okay.
of I will tell you. So I just looked her up. I'm going to interrupt her for a second. She's a hardworking actress. She was in The
Yeah.
Descendants with George Clooney. She plays the wife of the guy who was having an affair with George Clooney's wife, who's in a coma. I got to tell you, she is such a great actress.
She
She's
is.
hilarious. She is, but she's just one of those actresses that does not stop working. I'm
Hmm.
amazed by that.
Yeah, she has a great career, but she's not a movie star. People don't know that name. I'm sure like 99.9% of the people on this planet don't know who Judy Greer is by name, but she is a great actress. She's believable in whatever she does. Anyway, so it caught my attention. It has been in my watch list or whatever Netflix calls their thing. I think it's just my list, or was it Hulu? Anyway, forever it's been in there. So it's not a brand new movie. And I thought I watched the trailer and I'm gonna check it out. So it has to do with the time machine, which I'm not always in the mood for that. But I thought one of the things I enjoy is the what ifs. Like sliding door
Yeah.
things. So like, what if I had made that choice at that fork in the road in my life? What would it's the Back to the Future thing, right?
Right.
When he and I love when like they change something, and of course it's going to change other things and whatnot. So it's a spoiler alert, sort of, because I am going to talk about the end, but there really is no end. So I'm kind of not spoiling anything because my point is I cannot stand ambiguous endings. So I'm watching the whole thing and I'm enjoying it. And then it has one of those endings where it's like choose your own adventure type of thing at the end. And I was so mad because those ambiguous endings only work for certain things, like Lost in Translation. Remember when
Mhm.
he whispers something in her ear? When
Mhm.
Bill Murray whispers something in Scarlett Johansson's ear? Perfect. We don't need to know. We can imagine what he's saying to her, and it doesn't ruin the rest of the movie. But
Right.
this type of movie, it needs to have a beginning, middle, and end. If I wanted to create my own entire ending, I would fucking write my own story. I was so mad. I felt like I wasted an hour and 45 minutes or however long it was. It's one of those they cut to her face opening the door because they kept changing things. It was her
Yeah.
husband and their friend. The friend made the time machine and they kept changing. Her husband had been killed by a drunk driver. So the friend said, "Hey, we can go back and kill the drunk driver before he kills your husband." So then her husband's alive. And anyway, they keep making these changes. And at the very end, they make one more change and they show her open the door to their house and she steps in and they cut right there. And I'm just like, nope. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Anybody making those films out there, do not do those kinds of endings. I hate them because the thing with Lost in Translation was not it's not like they left an entire story for you to make up what you wanted to think, what your imagination. It was just that
Right.
one little thing of him whispering her in her ear, and it was great. It was perfect. Anyway, I had to talk about that because it really pissed me off the other night.
Well, and for those of you who are listening, and don't and haven't listened to who are listening to this episode and haven't listened to a lot of others, Cheryl loves movies and loves shows, and she invests a lot of time and energy in watching like movies and shows. And so, and she's also a very, very, very good movie critic.
I
So,
wanted to do that. Oh, we wanted to do that. Remember, Joy
yeah,
and I
remember
wanted to be
bangs up, bangs down?
Joy and I wanted to be the next Siskel and Ebert. I think you have to be of a certain age to know who they are.
Yeah,
But yeah, we wanted to have our own little movie critic. Wouldn't that be fun? Anyway,
would
yeah,
be,
I'm
but then
very
you people would come for you, because everybody's got like, gets all butt hurt because you didn't like their movie. And that would just be annoying. And then also, I feel like you wouldn't be able to be honest after a while because, people would be like sending us gift baskets, like, please enjoy our movie. And don't say anything shitty about it. Here's a gift
yeah,
basket. And
that's
I'd be like,
true.
I'm sorry, send me a Cartier watch and send me a couple of Birkins, and then maybe I'll consider it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So instead, on my own little podcast that I share with you, I'm just going to every once in a
Yep.
while have to critique a movie, and I was absolutely enraged at that ambiguous ending.
There you go.
I think it's a cop out. Anyway,
Anyway, speaking of movies, we should do another you know, like instead of top 5, like the next top 5, because everybody's got at least 50 movies that they love, love,
right,
love.
that's in their
So
top five.
we should do another top 5, call it the revolving top 5, because that episode was a lot of fun.
It was, and I had after we did it, I was like, oh, I forgot about that, and then I forgot about that. Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Anyway, um, Cheryl, I have some update,
Okay.
some update.
Some
I,
update.
I like
Okay.
yeah, I have an update from last week's episode. For those of you who listened to it, there was a question at the beginning as to whether or not birds, because remember we were talking about idioms,
Uh
and
huh.
I said, do birds have sex? Because remember you said kill two birds with one stone. I said that somebody threw an arrow and the birds were doing it and it like stuck through both birds and killed them. And then I was like, wait, but birds lay eggs. So maybe like, are they like fish eggs where, you know, the they get fertilized later on, or do the birds actually do it? So I talked to my husband, who, for those of you who don't know, and this is your first episode, is a veterinarian, and he told me that they do have sex. So
Oh,
they do the deed, and I actually asked him, do all birds do it? And he said, yes. I said, do emus and ostriches do it? He said, yes. Do chickadees and finches do it? He said, yes. I said, okay. He goes, so I just wanted to make sure all the birds were doing it. And also, so that that question, which comes first, chicken or the egg? Um, uh, I guess, it will all never be fully answered. But anyway, birds, you heard it here.
birds
Birds
do it.
have
Please do
sex.
it. They
That's right.
do. Yay for the birds.
Yay. And thank
Yay.
you so much, Gabe, for being our subject matter expert. So,
Thank you for
Cheryl, let's, oh,
enlightening us, Gabe.
that's right. Cheryl, let's hear your updates.
Well, you know that James Crumley, Ethan Crumley's father, Ethan Crumley is the kid that shot up the school, remember?
Uh,
Um, and his mother was found guilty, I don't know, about a month ago, I want to say. Feels like a month ago. Jennifer Crumley, we did an episode on that, didn't we? And
yep,
then
we
um
did.
and then his I guess we should have given equal, opportunity and cover the husband, but kind of saw the writing on the wall, right? If she was found guilty. And
Mhm.
yes, the husband or Ethan's father, James Crumley, was also found guilty, and their sentencing hearing is coming up in well, from the time we're recording this, it's 2 days from now, but it'll probably, oh yeah, it'll already be out by the time this is out. But I'm very interested to see what their sentence is going to be.
Yep. And for those of you who want to listen to that, the title was Guilty Verdict, Jennifer Crumbly, and that was episode 10 of season 2, and that aired on March 10th. So you can go to Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Not wherever, because we're not on Apple Podcasts yet. And you can go listen to it and hear what we have to say about that. Um, but uh, I also have another update. I know we've done some talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard because we also did an episode on Gypsy Rose, and it was called Mommy Dead and Dearest. Mommy,
Mm.
do you remember what it was called?
Mommy Dead and Dearest. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So it was called Mommy Dead and Dearest.
Yeah.
Anyway, we that episode came out on October 22nd of 2023, and it was episode 41. Anyway, she has deleted some social media, like I talked about the other day, but she has not deleted all of her social media. And it appears that the 11 years that she spent incarcerated, she's kind of going through some real like developmental stuff that she missed out. I mean, remember, it's like being on a big timeout. So she's probably, I think, 31 or 32. She missed a really big chunk of all of her 20s, when she would, and
Hmm.
remember, she had a very controlling and abusive mother. So it makes perfect sense that she would be acting out. The hard part is
Yeah.
watching it kind of unfold
Unfold.
in
Yeah.
in the spotlight. And I just, everybody wishes you well, Gypsy Rose. Your parole officer obviously had your best interests at heart, telling you to delete your social media. But also, I would just say, like, be careful what you put out there, because it's always out there. And for those of us who had life before internet, we know what it means when you say it's always out there, you know? Because
Yeah.
we know what it was like before it was always out there. But for kids nowadays, stuff, they people go on the internet and dig up things from 5, 10 years ago to torment people with 15 years ago.
Oh
And
yeah.
it can be bullying statements, it can be, like compromising comments or photographs. And unfortunately, that stuff lives in infamy on the internet. So, just think about it, Gypsy Rose, before you post stuff, before you say stuff, because it's sometimes it's hard to come back from something that you forgot was out there, that you posted, and maybe you've changed your mind or you've tried to move past it. The internet doesn't forget or forgive.
All right. Especially because she's gotten a warning from her patrol officer, that she could
Parole.
be thrown back a patrol. Did I say? I knew it sounded weird when I said it.
Parole.
Well, she's gotten notice from her parole and her patrol
Yeah.
officer,
Yeah,
who are
exactly.
maybe one in the same or maybe not. But yeah, she's gotten a warning, and it would be really sad. I celebrated for her that she got out a little early, and I would hate to see her throw that away. Be so
Right.
tragic. Anyway.
Also, I think it's important to also say, don't be so hard on yourself either. So you married somebody getting out of prison that you had met in prison, not realizing that you were going to need this like downtime to kind of find who you were. And now you've extricated yourself from that relationship. But just remember, like, she's got a spotlight on her. And if she turns left or right, people are going to comment on it, write about it, etc. She doesn't have anonymity. And,
Right.
she's very high profile. So for those of you out there who do have anonymity and don't have a spotlight, lucky, good thing that that's how your life is, and
Right.
good for you that you don't have to deal with that spotlight. But just bear in mind that, unfortunately, with fame can also come a lot of other negative stuff that you really don't want dogging you as you're trying, you know as you're heading out on this new life. She's trying to, just do things, and nobody cares. She's not. I'm not Elizabeth Taylor. Nobody cares how many people at the end of the day I'm married to or whatever, but everybody has an
Gabe
opinion.
does.
Oh yeah, that's true. But
Gabe
everybody
does.
has an opinion in the court of public information and otherwise known as the internet.
Yeah.
There's a million opinions out there rolling around and people are not afraid to give them. So,
Patrol officer. Okay.
all right, rolling on to shout outs. You guys, I have a shout out this week to our listeners. Thank you so much for listening to our little podcast. We appreciate you guys. We have to date recorded and released 63 episodes. We also have more episodes that we haven't released, but those are the ones we have recorded, edited, released, produced, and released. And that is no small feat. So keep on listening
Mhm.
and commenting and liking and subscribing. We really appreciate it. How about you, Cheryl? What are
Yeah.
your shout outs?
My shout out is to Korean television because I hope you all watch Squid Game. Is it Squid Game or Squid Games? Today I was like,
I think
is
it's
it
Squid
games or
Game.
game? I think it's Squid Game. Yeah.
It's
But
Squid Game and Hunger Games.
oh, maybe that's why I'm confusing it. It's singular Squid Game. Anyway,
Mhm.
if you guys are into that show, I know Joy and I love that show. I've watched it at least 3 times, the entire season.
Wow.
And I know they're coming out with the season 2. I don't know when, but if you love that show and you're like jonesing for something similar, there's a reality show called Physical 100, and nobody dies because it is a reality show. But they do these amazing challenges, and they get people from all walks of life you have to be athletic. You do have to be athletic, but they'll have like a ballerina all the way to like a sumo wrestler, Um,
Yeah.
and they do these challenges, and it's so interesting. Like they'll start off as individuals, and then they have to go into teams, and kind of like Survivor does, they always throw in kind of a twist on how they divvy up the teams or whatever it might be. And so they have 2 seasons. They just came out with the second season, and I watched all of it already. But
Wow.
the challenge, the game, they call them quests. Your first quest is blah blah blah. It's amazing, and they kind of it's not nice and shiny, the sets that they use and their challenges. They make it more rustic. It's almost like Mad Max looking, if
Yeah.
that's how I would describe it. But it's so good. I so enjoy it. I'm so sad that I watched all of it already, but I highly recommend it. So shout out to Korean television. Yeah,
Nice. I watched season 1, but we haven't watched season 2 yet. So
gotta
I'm gonna
watch
have
it.
to head on over and watch that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
I want to just read some letters from our listeners now. And the first letters were from our Spotify. They were posted on Spotify under the comment section. The first one was from This is Jeopardy, which was episode 9 of season 2, aired on March 3rd. And it's from one of my old students when I taught Spanish in Santa Rosa, California. Her name's Jen. And she said, loved this episode. She said, I also
Oh,
remember She said, I also remember Joy loving shoes and lipstick. Isn't that funny? I didn't even
oh.
remember that I loved lipstick. It's so funny. And
That's so cute.
she says, I definitely knew the fashion answers better than the murder ones. And also, so funny that Cheryl didn't know Hermes Birkin. Isn't that funny?
I
See,
had
Cheryl,
no idea.
see, a lot of ladies out there, they know their fashion, they know their fashion brands. So
Well,
thank you,
just like
Jen,
just
for
like
your
algebra,
comment.
how is that helping you in the real world? Anyway,
That's right. It's carrying my shit from place to place. And then also the other letters that we got were from our Lizzie Borden episode. That is episode 12 of season 2 that aired on March 24th of this year. And Jen also commented, she said, "Wow, I heard about Lizzie Borden on Ally McBeal way back in the day." And my friend Barry, who I like to refer to as Barack, he said, "I'm no relation to Barack Obama. Sincerely yours, Bartholomew." And he said, "You did not let me down." Because we gave him a shout out. So thank you, Barry and Jen, for your comments, for your letters that you posted on Spotify. And for if anyone else wants to post a comment on Spotify, just head on over. It says, "What did you think of this episode?" And you can go in there and leave something positive, uplifting, and wonderful to let us know about what you think of our episode. And I like to think back, harken back to, was it Jay Blair who posted, uh, remember the negative comment that we got
Yeah.
that we loved?
What is it?
Anyway,
I
oh
don't
my
like
god,
this
it
format.
was,
I don't like the
yeah,
format, the conversation.
boring or something, or like, I'm gonna find it. It was from season 1. It was
Hey,
hilarious. It
well,
it was
so
like,
Gen C, is Gen C the one that wrote the thing about Ally McBeal?
yeah, listen,
Okay.
it was Jay Blair 5 months ago said, "Don't like the show. Poor conversation and dull presentation."
You were more thrilled about that. But hey,
I
Gen
love
C,
it.
I want to know
Gen
how
T,
Lizzie
Gen T.
Gen T, as in Tom. I
Yeah,
want to know how Lizzie Borden popped up on Ally McBeal. Like in
I
what was the
know,
context of
right?
that? I'm so interested. So please write back in.
That would be amazing. Um, Also, the other thing that some of you might not know is that up until recently, the only person posting comments on Spotify was me. I literally every week when an episode drops, I go to Spotify and I'll go, "Joy and Cheryl, home run," or I'll but knock the ball out of the park, or hole in one, or some sports related analogy about what a great episode it is. And of course, the comment pops up under my name, so it's
Yeah,
obvious
she
I'm the
didn't
one
even you
posting
didn't
it.
even try to disguise it. It was
That's
hilarious.
right.
But
Anywho,
you're like the first dancer at a wedding. You know how like nobody wants to get up and dance and it takes that first dancer to get up. So now
that's right.
we got the comments rolling in. So
I'm
that's
like
good.
the first karaoke singer at a party that you wish you weren't at. I'm the first, second, 50th, and last singer. I'm the one who you have to wrestle the microphone out of their hand because I want to sing all the songs.
Oh, and that's the truth. Oh my
I
gosh.
know. Oh my God. I actually am the proud owner of 2 karaoke microphones. So, anybody listening to this, could you please come over to my house and sing karaoke with me because I I can't get my family to sing with me. So there. Anyway, on that note, Cheryl has a riveting case that she's going to talk about today, Cheryl. So take it away.
Okay, so we had switched, right? The last 2 episodes, Joy had done murder and I had done non-murder, and now we're back to our old roles. And I am going to talk about actually, Joy and I have discussed talking about this for a long time. This is an old case, but we're dying to know how everybody feels of whether she was guilty or not because it's very polarizing. Although I think most people think she's not guilty. Anyway, we're going to talk about Amanda Knox, also known as Foxy Knoxy, which I think she hated, but it was her old, soccer moniker. Anyway, my sources are biography.com, Wikipedia, Find a Grave, Rolling Stone, and parade.com. So on the morning of November 2nd, 2007, 21-year-old British exchange student Meredith Kircher was found dead on the floor in the house she had been sharing with 3 other women in Perugia, Italy. Meredith's throat had been slit. She was lying in a pool of blood and covered with a duvet. One of her roommates, 20-year-old Seattle native and fellow study abroad student Amanda Knox, notified the authorities after allegedly arriving home from sleeping at her new boyfriend's house. She discovered the front door open, blood on the bathroom floor, and unknown feces in the toilet. Meredith's other two roommates, both Italian, were away at the time, and Meredith was not responding to knocks on her locked bedroom door. As the next few days played out, Italian authorities would become more and more convinced that Amanda and her then boyfriend, Raffaele Solicito, had somehow been involved in Meredith's murder. Their assumptions had to do with Amanda's unusual behavior, which authorities deemed too unsavory for a girl mourning her roommate's untimely death. Bless you. They didn't like the way they didn't like the way she and Raffaele kissed while the police investigated the Hilltop house. And they thought it was strange that Amanda did cartwheels and stretching exercises in the police station. Their suspicions, which local and international media unabashedly played up, eventually led to Amanda's and Raffaele's arrest, trial, and imprisonment. So
Oh,
I'm going to
wait, so
go.
he was also arrested
Oh,
and in prison?
yes.
Oh, I didn't
Yes.
know that.
But it was Amanda got all the attention. She yeah, so he went on this crazy ride with her, this poor guy.
Wow, that
Um
poor
and
guy.
the
I
thing
mean, that
is,
poor girl too, my god. Such an
well,
awful case.
yeah, the thing is, I know that in all this time Amanda is really the one that's had a lot of media attention, and
Oh, yeah.
I really feel like Meredith Kircher, who was the victim, she really kind of fell to the wayside, and she was a human being.
Yeah,
She had family and friends, and I hope that in her community and where she came from, she was given a lot more attention and her life was celebrated, for who she was and whatnot. Because here
yeah.
in the States, it was all about Amanda, and we're not helping that out either because we are going to talk about Amanda because it's interesting to know if people agreed with her being released eventually. I mean, that's not a spoiler alert. I think everybody knows, but I'm going to just quickly go through because there's a lot of information, but I'm just going to give a recap on the timeline. So September 20th, 2007, Amanda moves into her Perugia cottage. The cottage, already occupied by Meredith and two Italian women in the upstairs apartment and four male students in the one below, was said to be in a bad neighborhood with drug dealers lingering at the nearby basketball court. So, October 25th, 2007, Amanda meets Raffaele at a classical music concert. Amanda begins talking to the shy 23-year-old computer science student she described as an Italian Harry Potter. Raffaele later visits a park called Le Chic, where Amanda is working part time as a bartender, setting their brief but intense relationship in motion. And then, as I mentioned earlier, November 2nd, 2007, Meredith's body is discovered. November 6, 2007, Amanda, Raffaele, and bar owner Daya Patrick Lambamba are arrested. Following a night of grueling interrogation, Amanda signs a confession in which she admits to being in another room of the cottage while her Lashik boss, Patrick Lamumba, killed her roommate. And I'm just going to talk really briefly about Amanda's confession. If you read Amanda's 2015 memoir, Waiting to be Heard, then you may already be familiar with how the now 29-year-old was initially questioned by the Peruvian police. Actually, she's in her 30s now. Amanda details the interrogation once again in the documentary, noting how investigators were unsatisfied with her account that she'd been at Raffaele's house the night of Meredith's murder. They were convinced that a text message to Amanda's boss, Patrick Lamumba, containing the American slang "see you later," meant that she had made an actual appointment to see him later that night, which, as they thought, didn't line up with her alibi. At a certain point, a police officer slapped her behind the head and told her, "Remember," and slapped her again, Amanda says. After hours of no food, no sleep, no bathroom breaks, and more intense interrogation, Amanda claims she broke down and began to question her own memory of that night, leading her to falsely accuse Lamumba, who owned that bar called Le Chic. I just I want to talk about this before we go on. You picture being in a foreign country. She spoke Italian, but still, it's not your first language, right? So speaking to her in
Mhm.
Italian, and you're there for hours and hours and hours. I I feel like I would lose it too. Because I've heard interviews where she's like, I started to question whether I was there because they're telling me no, I'm not, and you're hungry, you've got no sleep, no bathroom breaks, they're hitting you. Um, and so she threw Patrick Lumumba under the bus. Her boss from the bar. She just said,
Mhm.
"Yeah, he did it." And I was in the other room, and that's the other thing. The slang the slang "see you later" in American just means see you later. It's not literally I'm going to see you later, right? But they took
Mhm.
it to mean that she saw him that night, and so she must have been there because she's accusing him of murder. She must have been with him. I mean, I can see, I mean, there's a lot of false confessions because people are just broken down. I mean, do
Right.
you think you'd be able to hold up to that kind of intense
Well,
interrogation?
I feel like this is a really good time for me to tell you that I actually have had an experience where myself and a group of friends were apprehended in another country as we were
Oh
trying
my God.
as we were trying to shoplift in a major department store that we've been told we can never go back to.
Oh
Now,
my God, Joy.
I I don't know at the ripe age of whatever I am now if I would even set foot in the store, because will they recognize me? Probably not. They didn't even have a surveillance camera at that time, but they scared us so badly that I have not stepped foot in this store for over 30 years. So it was pretty effective, right? But I will say that what they did was we were getting off the escalator. We had been egging a friend on, who shall remain nameless because she says she'll sue me if I use her name. And we were egging her on and we were trying to get her to put it in her pocket and just walk out of the store with it. We're like,
What was
but
it? What was it?
it was a ring or something, like a piece of jewelry, but like there was no like security tag on it and nobody was, but what we didn't know was they're like secret like shoppers dressed like ladies and men dressed like shoppers who have like shopping bags and stuff, who are actually like watching what people are doing. And so as we took the ring to the set to the up the escalator to the next floor, and at that point my friend was going to put it in her pocket. But as we got off the escalator, we were surrounded by a group of these people with shopping bags who then ushered us into like a room, and then they separated us. So that was the first thing, was that they separated us. And I know this is not anything to do with Amanda Knox, but I'm just saying that the last thing I said was because the group of girls I was with didn't speak very good Spanish yet. They'd only been there a little while. I already was fluent in Spanish. And I said, whatever you do not start crying and do not admit that we're stealing this. In the United States, you can take items from the first floor to the second floor to the third floor to the fourth floor in a department store and purchase them all together. Because that's what I
Look
said we
at
were doing.
you thinking
I
on
was
your feet.
thinking fast, but also I was
Wow.
not ready to go to jail, like, with my group of friends, because we had not put the item in any pockets or purses. We were still carrying it in our open hand and we were still shopping. It
Oh,
was a
look at
very,
you.
very, very good lesson though. And unfortunately, when they separated us, they scared some of the girls. And
Oh,
it was,
no
oh,
doubt.
yeah, and they were yelling and telling us we were gonna go to, and I stuck to my guns and I was like, "No, in the United States, when you go to a department store, I'm sorry, but, I said, and I can vouch for it because I said, I know I've shopped at, I guess we didn't realize I'd not shopped at this store before or bought anything on multiple floors, but if we had wanted to steal it, we would not have been carrying it in our open hand. We would have put it in a pocket.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
was I was quick on my feet, but we
You
were
were.
ushered out of the store unceremoniously and told never, ever, ever come back. So you can go
Well,
back to
thank God.
Amanda Knox.
Wait, hold on. What country was this in? Where was it?
It was in Spain.
Oh my
So
God.
we're,
Don't
Spain
listen.
is Spain is a neighbor to Italy.
Let me tell you. No, don't mess with foreign countries, you guys. Have you never seen Broke Down Palace? Did you ever see that
I
movie?
wasn't I wasn't carrying drugs in my vajayjay.
No, but somebody put it on her. Like, oh my God. Anyway. Oh, Joy, only you. Hey, well, but just put yourself in this position. So now it's escalated from a ring to somebody being murdered. Do you think that you could confess to it after a grueling night of interrogation and being hit and being deprived of basic human needs?
I will tell you this. I am sure that if I think about being 20, she was 20, right?
Yeah, she was really young. Now she's in her
Yeah.
30s, I think. No, at the
I
time
think
she was 20. She was 20. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, at the age of 20, also remember that she had already been into the she had been into the apartment and seen, having the trauma of seeing the blood and all that.
Mhm.
I mean, I could easily see somebody just being like, let's get this over with,
Yeah.
Like she
Yeah.
didn't speak very good Italian. I I will tell you that like one of the girls started crying about the ring. And as soon as she
Mhm.
started crying, I was like, well, we're fucked. Because if you start crying, they're going to think that we're guilty. And sure enough, that's when they were like, get out of our store and never come back. And I was like, damn it. I mean, not
Oh my
because I
god.
wanted the ring. None of us needed this stupid ring.
No, it was the thrill, right? Oh my god. That is so
It was just seeing
scary.
if we could get away with it. But again, like I said,
Right.
nothing to do with Amanda Knox.
Well, okay, so the other thing I wanna let's go back to
But
talking
yes,
just
yes, you hear about people being coerced into false confessions. And I'm not saying it happens all the time, but do I believe it happens some of the time? Absolutely. Do I think
and
sometimes people admit to things because they think they'll get off easier than if they tell the whole story? Absolutely.
yeah, I heard of a story where the person, I think it was a guy, a kid, he actually thought he would go home if he
Yeah.
told them what they wanted to hear, which was very sad.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
so naive.
Because sometimes they'll tell them, now all you need to do, and the other thing is remember, a lot of times children end up in adult, holding areas and under adult interrogation tactics. Like, and I mean children, I mean teenagers, of course. But, I mean, there are child criminals all the time. That's what juvenile hall is, where they
Right.
lock up children. So
Yeah.
I also happen to have watched a bunch of those where they put them in a room and they have different lieutenants come in. It's a shakedown. They leave them in there in like very cold. A lot of times they're wearing
Mhm.
shorts, t-shirts because they're arrested and it's like summer outside and it's freezing and they have very little clothing on. They don't get anything to eat or drink, and they're in a room that's airtight by themselves, stewing for hours, and they don't get to go to the bathroom when they want to. And they're basically being told, yeah, yeah, somebody's going to come talk to you. And then they just leave them there. It's called a shakedown. And they get
Mhm.
shook down. And then people start like doing crazy shit because not everybody likes being in an airtight room with no ability to go to the bathroom and drink water and have a snack and all that kind of stuff. And so you
Yeah.
see it all the time where teenagers start crying and ask for their parents, where they start admitting to stuff because they just want to get out of there.
Yeah. I think it's easy to say there's no way I would ever admit to doing something I didn't do, especially murder. But I
Yeah.
can't I can't definitively say that I couldn't be broken down. The other thing I wanted to talk about was So one of the things that she was really criticized for was the kiss. Do you remember when the police were at the house? They had just discovered they were there, right, to get all the forensic stuff. She had called the police, and she's standing outside the house with Raffaele, and he has his arm around her, and he looks down at her, and they kiss, not like makeout session, French kissing, tongue. They gave a little peck, and that was blown up in the media. That
Yeah,
Foxy Noxy is making out while her roommate, is lying dead in the house with her throat slit.
I remember
I
that. It seemed a little
do
bit excessive.
I always thought it was excessive. I was like, they weren't making out. He just looked down at her and she looked up at him. They were also very newly together. And when you first get together with someone, you get your hands all over each other. You know what I mean? Like, I never
Yeah,
thought much of that, but the media blew that up and held that against her. Um,
yeah.
and then the other thing, which seems to be a thing because Jodi Arias, who's I know you don't I've told you about her, but she's the one that killed the guy in Mesa, Arizona, because he was moving on to somebody else. Anyway, she also did like stretching exercises in the interrogation room when they left her in there. So that was the other thing that was held against Amanda in the court of public opinion, that she did cartwheels and stretching exercises in the police station. What do you think of that?
Um, I think that she was young. She didn't necessarily think that what she was doing was being recorded. I got to be honest, this whole recording thing, it's like, what the fuck? We have cameras, and sometimes I catch what I'm doing on the front porch when I go out to water the plants. I look like a mental case. Seriously. So, like, what's up? Like, why do we have to, like, I get it. Like, it's nice for surveillance. It's nice to see who's stealing your shit from your store. So you don't have to follow a bunch of entitled American brats around from floor to floor. But the fact of the matter is that, like, I mean, what are you supposed to do? My guess is they put her in the room, they left her, would come in, scream at her, smack her upside the head, accuse her a bunch of stuff. She doesn't speak very good Italian. They leave, then they come back in. She's not getting food, she's not getting sleep, she's exhausted. She wants to take a shower and go see her new boyfriend, who she just started dating. And instead, she's stuck in the police station, and she's probably like just trying to find stuff to pass the time. I
Yeah,
honestly don't believe that she committed this crime.
yeah. Neither do I. Well, let's go back to the timeline. So, November 6th is when Raffaele, and the bar owner, because she threw him under the bus, are arrested. Okay, that was November 6th of 2007. November 15, 2007, an incriminating kitchen knife is reported to have been found at Raffaele's home. The 8-inch knife had traces of Meredith's DNA on the blade and Amanda's DNA on the handle. Raffaele later writes that he had once accidentally pricked Meredith's hand while the three of them were cooking, which that sounds very strange. November 20th, 2007, Rudy, is it Gueda, is arrested. Rudy, a 20-year-old student, is pulled from a train in Germany after investigators find his DNA on bloody prints at the crime scene and inside Meredith's body. Rudy says that he had consensual sex with the victim that night and that he was in the bathroom when an unidentified man entered and killed Meredith. Meanwhile, Patrick Lumbumba is released from custody, though he remains a suspect. So I had read somewhere that Rudy's comment on the poop that was in the toilet was that they had consensual sex, which is always the murderer's uh, story, that it was consensual,
Yep.
which we know that's not true. And that he was using the bathroom and he got so scared that someone came in that he didn't flush. That was his whole thing about why it was in, because that was such a
And
weird
also, if
detail.
somebody came in to kill Meredith,
Mm-hmm.
and Rudy was in the bathroom, they would have killed Rudy too, you know?
Right?
So
I don't know.
Rudy's story doesn't pan out.
No, it
And
doesn't.
yeah, it just doesn't.
So now we're in January of 2008. Raffaele's DNA is reported to have been found on Meredith's bra clasp. The clasp, retrieved from Meredith's room nearly 7 weeks after the murder, bolsters the prosecution's assertion that the suspects engaged in a dangerous sex game with the victim, though it also supports the defense's criticism of a sloppy investigation and contaminated crime scene. Do you remember that? I saw the video of them going back in, so they hadn't secured the house. I mean, this is 7 weeks later, and they
Yeah.
find this bra
It
clasp, and yeah, it was very bad investigating. So
it was.
now it's October 28, 2008. Rudy is sentenced to 30 years in prison. Amanda and Raffaele are ordered to stand trial. Rudy had elected to undergo a fast track trial separate from the other defendants. That same day, a judge determines that there is enough evidence for Amanda and Raffaele to stand full trial on murder charges. So on January 16, 2009, the Meredith Kircher murder trial begins. After 14 months in jail, Amanda and Raffaele appear in a Perugia court for the start of the murder trial. The presiding judge determines that the high profile proceedings can be held with the media present, but no live television coverage. June 12, 2009, Amanda testifies in her defense. Taking the stand for the first time in the case, Amanda testifies that she spent the night of the murder at her boyfriend's home, where they smoked marijuana, made love, and fell asleep. She also refutes the accusation that she and Meredith didn't get along and insists that she signed the confession that implicated Patrick Lumumba only because she was under intense pressure from the police. November 18,
I'm
2009.
glad that I'm glad that she made that statement because um just imagine that poor Patrick Lumumba and what he went through. Like all of us, he had hired her probably illegally to work in his bar because remember, you have to have a work permit to work in another country. You can't just pop up
Mhm.
in another country. I know this because I've worked illegally in other countries.
Of
So,
course you did.
you know, yeah, so Patrick's like he throws her a bone, gives her a job,
Yeah.
and then
Oh
she
God.
throws him under the fucking bus. So I'm glad that she
Oh
said
God.
that.
Yeah, but his life was ruined. He lost the bar. There, it was terrible. He could never recover from it. It was very sad. Um, so November 18, 2009, Rudy places Amanda at the crime scene. The Amanda Raffaele trial nearing its end, Rudy makes headlines during his separate appeal with a spontaneous statement in which he recounts Amanda and Meredith getting into an argument before Meredith's killing by an unidentified man. Rudy later sees his sentence reduced to 16 years. So this is just a summary. I'm going to talk a little bit more about him later. So December 4th, 2009, Amanda and Raffaele are convicted. At the conclusion of a trial that saw more than 50 hearings and dozens of witnesses called, the defendants are convicted of Meredith's murder, with Atiri Amanda sentenced to 26 years and Raffaele receiving a 25-year sentence. Additionally, the two are ordered to pay more than $7 million to Meredith's family, and Amanda ordered to pay Patrick Lumumba around $60,000 for defamation. Now it's 2011, June 27th, the appeals begin. Amanda and Raffaele's appeal opens with Rudy testifying against his former two co-defendants. He also denies a claim by another convict that Rudy had confided to him that Amanda and Raffaele were innocent. July 25th, 2011, forensic experts called the evidence into question. Two court appointed experts testified that the knife reportedly used in the attack carried no trace evidence of blood, and there was no DNA on the bra clasp that police used to implicate Raffaele. That is so scary. One minute
Mhm.
they're saying his DNA is on it, and the next it's like, no, there's no DNA on it. I mean, a person's life is hanging in the balance.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's very scary.
so October 3rd, 2011, Amanda and Raffaele's convictions are overturned. An appellate court jury of 6 citizens and 2 judges overturned the convictions of Amanda and Raffaele in Perugia. Amanda, who had delivered a tearful statement in Italian earlier in the day, is overcome by emotion and assisted out of the court. March 26, 2013, Italy's highest court orders a new trial. So they're not, Scott, they're not off the hook yet. Italy's Court of Cassation reopens the case by overturning the acquittal. I don't know. How do you do that? Amanda, who had since returned to Seattle, Washington, and was set to release a book about her ordeal, decried such a ruling when the prosecution's theory of my involvement in Meredith's murder has been repeatedly revealed to be completely unfounded and unfair, she said. September 30th, 2013, the retrial begins. But she's still in the States when this happens. 3 months after the Court of Cassation issues its reasoning that criticizes the deficiencies, contradictions, and illogical conclusions of the appeals court, a new trial opens in Florence without Amanda and Raffaele present. January 30th,
I'm just
2014.
curious. At this point, what's happened to Amanda and Raffaele? Like, is their relationship still good? Have they gone their separate ways?
Well, he's in Italy and she's in the States. So
Oh,
mine, yeah. I did see something that when she went back, I saw some pictures of them, and they got together as friends after that. They didn't, I don't think they had anything else going. January 30th, 2014, Amanda and Raffaele are reconvicted of the murder. Can you imagine going through this?
that's
They were
crazy.
convicted, they were set free. They were convicted. Following 11 and a half hours of deliberations, a jury convicts Amanda and Raffaele for a second time, the judge tacking on 2.5 years to the former sentence. Raffaele is ordered to surrender his passport, while Amanda, legally in Seattle, will not have to worry about extradition unless the ruling is upheld. So you're just living on pins and needles all these years. So March 27th, 2015, the convictions are again overturned. The Court of
Oh my
Cassation ends the long-running legal saga by overturning the convictions of Amanda and Raffaele, except for Amanda's defamation of Patrick Lumumba. Amanda released a statement describing herself as tremendously relieved and grateful for the outcome. January 24, 2019, Italy is ordered to pay damages to Amanda. While her legal problems are already resolved, the European Court of Human Rights adds icing to the victory cake by ordering Italy to pay Amanda more than $20,000 in damages for the harsh interrogation she endured early in the investigation. To me, that is like peanuts for what
I
she
know,
went through.
right?
20,000?
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say like $50 million. It's like
I know.
here's here's the $6 we owe you for parking and an extra 40 for the lunch. God.
Oh,
I mean, especially maybe we need to like take a letter from the Europeans, from the Italians, and we need to learn that not every court case has to be settled or has to be like awarded $50 million, because I feel like in the United States of America we have so many like ridiculous judgments where they're like, and the plaintiff, and the jury finds the plaintiff innocent and is awarded 5 million, million, billion, trillion, and I'm like, who the fuck is gonna pay that money? Nobody. And then they're like, well, I was awarded 40 million by this insurance company, but so far I've not seen a penny. I think sometimes it's just like in
a
word
number.
only.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it usually is reduced. Uh-oh, somebody's up. Yeah, it's usually reduced, just like Maya Kowalski, and the
Okay.
hospital owed her hundreds of millions, and I don't think that's actually what she's gonna get. Okay, so anyway, of course, Amanda is grateful for their wisdom and acknowledging the reality of false confessions. But I'm sure she was had a lot of other things on her that she really wanted to say, but she was being very gracious. I just want to talk because I do think she got lost. She gets lost in this whole tragic story. Is Meredith? So Meredith Susanna Cara Kircher, known to her friends as Mez, was born on December 28, 1985, in Southwark, Greater London, England. She was the youngest daughter of John and Arlene Kircher and sister to John Jr., Lyle, and Stephanie. The family resided in Colston, Greater London, England. Witty and beautiful was how family and friends described the girl with the dazzling smile, an exotic beauty that blended the best of Anglo Saxon and Indian cultures. She had a keen intelligence and clever sense of humor. Well known for her grace and sense of style, she was also kind and diligent. Meredith
Oh,
attended the Old Palace School in Croydon, Greater London, England, and Leeds University in Leeds, in West Yorkshire, England, where she was working toward a degree in European studies as part of the Erasmus, and
mhm.
that is a backronym, which I have never heard of backronym, but it means European Community Action Scheme for the Mobility of University Students. Um,
Cool.
so yeah, I just never, I never heard of that word. Have you? Backronym? I know it's like an acronym, but why I call it a
No,
backronym?
I haven't.
Yeah, but I've never heard that. Anyway, she was a person. She was beautiful. She had goals in life. She had friends. She had family, and it is very sad because the end of her life was so violent, and she really did get lost in this entire thing. But like I said, maybe in her country, there was more focus on her. Um, so where are they now? So Rudy, the only person definitively convicted of the murder of Meredith, has been freed has been freed from prison after completing 13 years of a 16-year sentence. He was initially sentenced to 30 years. A judge in the Italian town of Viterbo agreed to further reduce Rudy's sentence by an additional 45 days due to good behavior, and he has been arrested over allegations he beat up a former girlfriend. Okay, someone like
Well, I
this
just have
should
to
not
say
be on the streets.
yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I gotta tell you that you didn't even have to say he'd been rearrested about beating up his girlfriend. You know what? You like, I mean, something was gonna pop up for this guy, and I'll guarantee you that that's not the only like legal thing that he's dealt with since this. I'll bet you
No,
he's
he
got a bunch of parking tickets he hasn't paid. He's got some bar tabs that he hasn't closed out. Like, there's some
no.
shops downtown that he's not allowed to shop in.
No, I'm afraid that he's going to do it again. That's like a slap on the wrist. Her murder was brutal. It
Well, I
was
think
it
what
was brutal.
happened was, I think it was not consensual. And I think probably
Oh,
what happened
absolutely
was,
not.
especially based on the fact that he beat up a former girlfriend, I'll guarantee you that when things went south and he started hurting her, that maybe something happened and it went too far. And then by that time, he was like, oh no, now I have to actually kill her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he now has a pattern of abusive behavior.
He's
So the
like,
consensual sex to me was not consensual.
oh no, it wasn't. I was being sarcastic about that. They always claim
Right.
these killers who rape and kill their victims that they always say it's an excuse of why their DNA was found in his DNA was in her body. We know what that means. And then they always try to
Yes.
pass it off as being consensual. But this guy is going to do it again. It's like Joran Vandersloot. There
Yep.
it's you can't these kind of people should not be out of prison. They just shouldn't. So but he's
Yep.
out, everyone. I mean, he's out. um, and Raffaele Solicito, the Italian software engineer, he's not married. He's working as a solutions architect in Assaggio, Italy. So
And
Amanda
he looks
Knox.
like Harry Potter. So there's that.
Amanda Knox admittedly remained very private during her first years as a free woman. In a 2019 essay for Jen, which is a former publication from Medium, she penned, I had Facebook and Instagram accounts that no one but a small circle of my friends and family could follow. I knew what would happen if I made them public. Haters and trolls would harass me or call me a killer or psycho bitch when I posted a picture of my cat. The tabloids would lift my photos out of context and call me strange, as if I were so weird that I deserved 4 years in prison. And that's exactly what happened when I made my Instagram public. I did so because I just wanted to have what every other person around me had, the freedom to shout into the wind and say, here I am. Amanda ended up making her Instagram account public in 2017. Years before, in 2013, she released her New York Times best-selling memoir, Waiting to Be Heard. Discussing the book with Robin Roberts, Amanda said, "I wanted people to know who I was because I felt that I was lost in the middle of this storm and I was taken over. And I wanted people to know precisely what it is I went through and precisely what I was thinking at every moment." In 2019, Amanda returned to Italy for the first time since being released from prison to speak at the Criminal Justice Festival in Modena. "Many think I was mad to come back, that I wouldn't be safe, that I would be falsely accused and sent back to jail. I am afraid today, scared of being molested, trapped, but above all, I am scared that I will lack courage. I know that I remain a controversial figure, especially in Italy." I would not, I don't know if I'd go back, even if it was an honor. Would you?
No, I haven't gone back to that store that I was run out of.
That's right,
I
right?
and I haven't gone back, and I mean, this is how many years later. No, I wouldn't. And also, it's not like it's not like they don't she doesn't have a reason to, you know what I mean? Like no one in her family's Italian. Um, I think that's crazy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, they asked her to come back and speak at this, wrongly accused type of thing. Um, while it's an honor, what she went through, I would be so scared to go back. I'd be so scared that something would happen and I wouldn't be able to get out.
Yeah.
But
I will say that I think that I will say this, as Americans, we love, love, love second chances and third chances and fourth chances. We love when somebody who has, fallen on hard times or been a bad person or had something bad happen to them, we love for them to come back and redeem themselves. That's why you see so many times, whether people are innocent or guilty, they'll write a book and they'll all of a sudden be given, an invitation to speak at something, and they'll accept an award for, their advocacy for something. Um, but what we also love in this country is we love a train wreck. So while we love second chances and we love to see people, get, their just desserts, we also love when that ship falls apart and the train careens off the track and then all the cars are laying by the side of the road on flames and everyone's burning up. So I will say that I think it's I think it's great that she's working on advocacy to help people who have been falsely accused. I'm glad that she has maintained a low profile. She has a podcast. I don't know if you know that.
hmm
Um, and I did go and listen to Tig and Cheryl's episode where they talk about her documentary, and then they also interview her. And I listened to that one as well, or part of that one. Um, I believe she's innocent. I don't
me too.
care about, I you have to here's the thing. You have to believe something, right? And I believe she's
hmm
innocent. I don't think that she had anything to do with this crime. Um, I don't look at any of her behavior afterwards, like her kissing her boyfriend or anything like that, or her doing sit-ups or whatever stretches. Other than I don't look at it as anything other than a 20-year-old being a 20-year-old.
hmm
Um,
And she is
but
a little. She's eccentric. She has a different type of personality.
yeah, she does.
hmm
She admits, that she has an odd sense of humor, and, I mean, she'd have to. Her children's names are Echo and Eureka,
Yeah.
right?
That's what I was gonna. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So she she got married to someone named Christopher Robinson. I wonder if he has Winnie the Pooh in his backyard. Um, on February 29th of 2020, which is a leap year, Amanda celebrated their first wedding anniversary on the leap day in 2024, writing on her Instagram, Chris and I have been married now for as long as I was imprisoned and together for as long as I was on trial. He has balanced the scales of my life away from injustice and pain and towards love and hope. Choosing him as my person was the best decision I've ever made. And like Joyce said, they have two children. Their son Echo was born September 23rd, and daughter Eureka was born 2021. So yeah, she is kind of eccentric. And I
Yeah.
I want to know what everyone thinks out there because I went to Reddit and I was reading a lot, and it's very divided. There are a lot of people who think not for
Mhm.
one second thought she was guilty, and there are other people that say when they watch these documentaries, they feel like she's not telling the truth. Like maybe she didn't actually commit the murder, but she knows what happened. What do you think about that?
Um, I think she's innocent. I don't think she knew anything about it. But I will say that one of the things that I am happy to see is that she moved past it and she's been able to have like the things that people want in life. And I think about other young women, not in similar circumstances as hers, like with this case, but women who are thrust into a spotlight that maybe they didn't deserve or they didn't ask for or they didn't like merit in any way. I think of Monica Lewinsky, who, you know, I mean, maybe she hasn't been able to move on and have, something put together, a life for herself that like someone like Amanda Knox has. And
Mhm.
that makes me sad. It makes me sad and it makes me want to say shame on you to everybody who took shots at her, all the male comedians and the late night talk show hosts who turned her into basically like a laughing stock.
A
I mean, how
punchline.
could you yeah, how could you ever come back from that? And also, what kind of normal life will you have after that? I think about that and I want to say shame on you to those people. But I'm happy
Well,
that that Amanda's been able to like move past this and have, a happy ending for
a happy
herself.
ending. Well, and as far as Monica Lewinsky, I looked her, I Googled her one day. I don't know why. She just came into my mind. First of all, she looks fantastic. And
Right.
secondly, I think she's doing pretty well. I do think
No,
she's
she's
doing
doing great. I just remember always thinking, how could you bring home like imagine being a young man and meeting her and being like, "Oh, she's really really cute and I really like her blah blah blah." And then introducing her to your
yeah.
parents and having them say, "What's the name of your new girlfriend?"
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
if it's a
Yeah.
girl having asking your daughter, "What's the name of your new girlfriend?" And then like kind of like hesitating and then
Bless
saying,
you.
yeah, it's allergy season here, man. Ooh, it's brutal. And then having them say like, uh, pause, pause,
Monica
pregnant
Lewinsky.
pause, pregnant pause, Monica Lewinsky, and they're like, oh,
Oh. You're
because
right.
again, and I've
Yeah.
said this before, it was not the Monica Lewinsky scandal. It was the Bill Clinton scandal. He was the guy who was married. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
stop throwing women under the bus for just having sex. And I feel like they wanted to, you know, there's always this drive to like question a woman's sexual decisions and her like, you know, her whether she's promiscuous or not. And that's why they went after her with the way she kissed Raffaele and all this stuff. It's like, come on. She's 20 years old and she just is like with this hot little piece of like Harry Potterville. Of course she's going to be kissing him, you know?
Yeah. And also, not that I'm sure she was in some kind of shock and horrified when because she
Yeah,
discovered Meredith's body. I'm sure she had a natural human reaction, but also, and I don't mean this to sound heartless, okay, but they were not good friends. They weren't. She had just moved in, right? I mean, it wasn't that long
right.
after she moved in. I'm
They
not
weren't
saying that she didn't
besties.
care. Yeah, I'm not saying she didn't care about her, but they made it sound like, anyway, yeah,
And also
perception.
for anybody out there who's had roommates or gone on an exchange program and all of a sudden popped up and you're staying in a room with somebody you don't know and you got to live with them and become friends with them. I mean, sometimes it's weird. I mean, you know what?
Mhm.
The whole idea of like moving into a dormitory and all of a sudden having to like live with somebody that you don't know from a hole in the wall, that's weird to me.
Yeah, it is weird. And she had several roommates. But yeah, she's got this horrible incident on one hand, and she's got this new guy on the other. And I
Yeah.
didn't think anything. It wasn't a. If you guys don't know this story and you haven't looked into it, Google that scene where she's outside the house. They're not making out. It's like a little comfort. It's a peck. It really was a peck, but they
Yeah.
blew that out of proportion. But
Oh yeah.
anyway, I'm glad. So Joy is talked about Tig and Cheryl. So Tig and Cheryl, true story. They're no longer doing it. It's Cheryl with somebody else. But like Joy said, they did an episode about Amanda, and Amanda heard her. She listened to them because Tig joked around. Tig was joking because Cheryl was saying something about Amanda, and Tig goes, she's listening," and then Cheryl just laughed it off.
Right.
And then the very next episode, they have her on because Amanda reached out and said, "I do listen to you guys." So, Amanda Knox, if you're listening to us right now, reach out
Yeah.
to us at murder and everything else at gmail.com, and we will give you a platform to talk about whatever you want to
Yes.
talk about.
Please do.
Because
You could come on here and talk about your waffle iron. You could come on here and talk about your obsession with Louboutin heels. We don't care. Just reach out
yeah,
to us. We will let you come and talk about, like we said, whatever you want. You want to talk about advocacy? You want to talk about prison reform? We will let you talk about it. So
oh my
reach
God,
out to us.
wouldn't that be
Murder and
so
everything
cool?
else at gmail.com.
Gmail.com.
Anyway,
Ah,
Cheryl, I am so happy that she was cleared of this crime. And I
me
hope that the
too.
Italian courts leave this alone because obviously that crime scene was not taken well care of and
Nope.
they botched a lot of like, standard procedure, which in and of itself is a crime. But you know what else is a crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
That is a crime. Well, thank you for listening, everyone. You too, Amanda. And don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch created and managed by Kevin Callan. Podcast editing and advertising by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezek. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and YouTube, and you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.